All right, well, welcome back to our afternoon Yom Kippur service. I hope you had a restful afternoon, and we're glad to be here. we're happy to be in the last leg of Yom Kippur, and we're glad that you're with us. Okay, should we just get started? I'm trying to think if we need to announce anything before, but
there's no baby yet.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm still here. There's no baby yet, so looks like I'm about to make it through Yom Kippur services without having a child, which I don't know how I feel about that.
I do.
I'm really excited for having this kid. Yeah, okay. Anyways, let's move on. So we're going to start with a poem on page 395 of our prayer books. Oh, that I might be a servant unto thee, thou God by all adored, then through my friends outcast, thy hand would hold me fast, and draw me near to thee, my King and Lord. Spirit and flesh are thine, O heavenly shepherd mine. My hopes, my thoughts, my fears, thou seest all. Thou measurest my path, my steps dost know. When thou holdest, who can make me fall? When thou restrainest, who can bid me go? Oh, that I might be a servant unto thee, thou God by all adored. Then through by friends outcast, thy hand would hold me fast, and draw me near to thee, my King and Lord. And now we continue on to page 398 for the Amidah, which I guess we'll turn around for.
I was going to say we can move the ark, but I'll probably get that.
Oh,
We now turn to page 403 of our prayer book. Let now an infinite presence teach us a gentleness that transcends force and melts our hardness of heart. Then shall we be sensitive to the needs of our neighbors and responsive to their pleas. And before we continue on to page 404, I have my own reading I would like to share called The Sin of Inflexibility. No, I'm going off script here.
No, you're nailing me.
Oh, no. Great understanding is broad and unhurried. Little understanding is cramped and busy. Great words are clear and crystalline. Little words are shrill and quarrelsome. Men and women day after day use their minds in strife, sometimes grandiose, sometimes sly, sometimes petty. Their fears are mean and trembly. Their great fears are stunned and overwhelming. They bound off like an arrow or a crossbow pellet, certain that they are the arbiters of right and wrong. They cling to their position as though they had sworn before the gods, sure that they are holding on to victory. And they fade like fall and winter, and such is the way they dwindle day by day. They drown in what they do. If they cannot make them turn back, they grow dark as though sealed with seals. And we now continue on to 404. We have sinned against life by failing to work for peace.
We have sinned against life by keeping silent in the face of injustice.
We've sinned against life by ignoring those who suffer in distant lands.
We have sinned against life by forgetting the poor in our own midst.
We have failed to respect those who made in the image of God.
We have withheld our love from those who depend on us.
We've engaged in gossip and repeated slander.
We have distorted the truth for our own advantage.
We have conformed to fashion and not to conscience.
We have indulged in despair and trafficked with cynics.
We have given meager support to our house of study.
We have neglected our heritage of learning.
We've sinned against ourselves and paid scant heed to the life of the Spirit.
We have sinned against ourselves and have not risen to fulfill the best that is in us. Silach lanu mechalanu kapelanu ve'al kulom Elohai selichot silach lanu mechalanu silach lanu mechalanu kapelanu.
For all these sins, O God of mercy, forgive us, pardon us, and grant us atonement. God, before whom words must be true, we acknowledge our faults and our failings. Help us now to strengthen the good impulse within us, and help us to care about wrongs from which we have been spared, to seek forgiveness for wrongs we shall do, to forgive the wrongs that are done to us. Create in us a clean heart, place a willing spirit within us, and shed your light upon us, O God, that we may see the goodness in each of your children. We're now going to continue silently for a little while, and we'll come back together for Oseh Shalom on 408. We now continue with the Alenu, which you can find on page 409. And this is a Chazan Alenu, so Ross is going to offer a full prostration for this Alenu. And we now continue on page 410 with the Avodah. Author of life, in the beginning you formed the universe and established the earth. Beholding chaos, seeing the darkness that lay upon the face of the deep, you brought forth brightness to dispel the gloom. Creation danced as clay took on your image. How can dust become the one who thought it was more than dust? Driven by restless yearnings, we ate of the tree of knowledge. Ever since, we dream of your garden, a vision we fled, a vision we fly to. For even now, your pity upholds us. Growing in numbers, increasing our skills, we feel blessed by your goodness. How then can we break our bond and say to you, depart from us? In an instant, we will wither without your care. Judgment follows our every deed, but you are mindful of your covenant. A sign of your blessing, the rainbow adorns the heavens. Knowledge grows, and we stray, and in pride assault those heavens. Lunar cold invades us. Many fail and fall, nothing abides. Oh, but some who shine as stars bear witness to your love. I'm going to invite John over here to read for us Bereshit on the bottom of page 411.
Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, ve'haaretz haytatov ve'beho ve'choshek el fnei tehom. Ve'ruach Elohim merachefet el fnei hamayim, ve'yomer Elohim yehior ve'yor.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and there was darkness upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved over the surface of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And we now continue on page 416. Thanks, Ross. On top 416, you gave us the power of speech, that magic gift by which each soul, unique and separate, yet shares its life with others. Though each individual, unaided and alone, is weak and helpless, your gift of love brings us strength, not by might nor by power, but by your Spirit, and the thirst for knowledge, the urge to create, the passion for justice, the will to give love and loyalty. Sometimes we have lived at peace with one another, but all too often we are deaf to the divine wisdom within us, preferring the law of the jungle, preferring war to peace, preferring evil to good. And now we jump over to page 448. And I'm going to read the bottom of that page. All the world shall come to serve you and bless your glorious name. And your righteousness triumphant the islands shall proclaim. And the people shall go seeking, who knew you not before, and the ends of the earth shall praise you, and tell your greatness, O earth. They shall build for you their altars, their idols overthrown, and their graven God shall shame them, and they turn to you alone. They shall worship you at sunrise, and feel your kingdom's might, and impart their understanding to those astray in night. With the coming of your kingdom, the hills shall shout with song, and the islands laugh exultant, that they to God belong. And through all your congregation, so loud your praise shall ring, that the utmost people hearing shall hail you, the crowned King. Okay, it's now my honor to invite Rabbi Stacy to offer some words of Torah for our community. So we're going to let her in. This might take a few moments to achieve, so we'll see how well it goes. Because this is back in now time for the Jewish jokes. While we wait. You know any Jewish jokes, Ross?
Nope. I don't want it.
All right. Oh, Stacy, can you hear me? You are muted.
There
you are.
Yes, I can.
Oh my gosh, welcome Stacy to the Frozen Chosen.
Hi, everyone.
All right, this is Rabbi Stacy, and she's going to offer us some words of Torah. So Stacy, I'm giving you the whole picture, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say, okay?
All right. So, Haraim Tovim, everyone.
Sorry, Stacy, a little technical difficulties. Give us a moment.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
So, Haraim Tovim. This coming Friday, I will officiate my 216th funeral of a young person who died because of gang violence. That is how Father Gregory Boyle introduced himself as a guest speaker for Yom Kippur afternoon several years ago. Father Boyle is the founder of Homeboy Industries in Los Angeles, an organization that provides hope, training, and support to formerly gang-involved men and women, allowing them to redirect their lives and become contributing members of the community. Each year, more than 10,000 former gang members from across Los Angeles come through the doors of Homeboy Industries in an effort to make a positive change. Throughout his lecture, Father Boyle shared the stories of lives changed because of his organization. Fathers able to provide their children with a life they never had, young men and women choosing to work with members of rival gangs during the day rather than fight against them at night. People giving themselves a second chance when the world has written them off. Father Boyle attributes the success of Homeboy Industries to two things: God and the power of boundless compassion. As I was listening, I was reminded of a Talmudic teaching. In Tractate Sota, Rabbi Chama struggles with a biblical contradiction. You shall follow after Adonai your God. What does that mean, he asks? Is it even possible for a person to follow the divine presence? Would we want to, considering there's an earlier verse that says, for Adonai your God is a consuming fire. Rabbi Chama is highlighting attention in the book of Deuteronomy. Chapter 13 commands the people of Israel to follow in the footsteps of God. Yet earlier in chapter 4, God is described as a consuming fire. The question is, how does the Torah intend for us to reconcile these two ideas? The Talmud answers this question by instructing us to follow in the compassionate attributes of God and provides 4 examples. Just as God clothed Adam and Eve, so are we to clothe the naked. Just as God visited Abraham when he was sick, so are we to visit the sick. Just as God comforted Isaac, so are we to comfort the mourner. And just as God buried Moses, so are we to bury the dead. On the surface, each of these examples emphasizes the compassion of God for humans, which we are to emulate. However, each example deserves a closer look. In the example of clothing Adam and Eve, they would not have needed clothing if God had not placed the attraction of the tree of knowledge in the Garden of Eden. In the example of visiting Abraham when he was sick, the rabbinic understanding is that it was the 3rd day after Abraham had circumcised himself at God's command. In the example of comforting Isaac after Abraham's death, not only is God the one who brought death upon humans in the beginning of Genesis, but there is no mention of God comforting the rest of Abraham's children. And in the example of burying Moses, God is the one who also ordained that Moses would die in the wilderness, even though his natural strength had not left him. It is not an accident that in each of these examples, God acts both as a consuming fire and with compassion. God creating balance in the world must play both roles. Yet the Talmud highlights the compassionate part of each story, the example humans are supposed to follow. In this sense, humans are literally supposed to follow behind the consuming fire, acting as God's cleanup crew and stacking the balance in favor of compassion. Hearing Father Boyle speak inspired me to read his book, Tattoos on the Heart. In chapter 4, Father Boyle attempts to define what he means by compassion. Compassion is no fleeting, occasional emotion rising to the surface. It's full-throttled. Scholars connect the word to the entrails, to the womb, to the bowels, from the deepest part of the person. For Father Boyle, compassion is a strong, deep emotion, almost to the point of primitive. Yet from a Jewish perspective, compassion is not only a feeling, it is also an action. Think back to the examples given in Sota: clothing the naked, visiting the sick, comforting the mourner, and burying the dead. Not only are these expressions of compassion, they are actions each of us has felt compelled to perform from deep within ourselves. The feeling of compassion is the first step, but it is the action of compassion that allows us to affect the world around us. The examples given in the Talmud are all personal, individual ways in which humans can clean up after God and provide more compassion. And then there are times when God is an actual consuming fire. Over the last year and a half, we have watched, sometimes helplessly, as people have been driven from their homes due to wildfires, hurricanes, and snowstorms, while simultaneously trying to protect themselves from a deadly virus. Personally, there was a moment last year where I realized my family and I had nowhere to evacuate to should the SCU Lightning Complex fire make its way toward our home. There are so many people throughout the world who are affected by the all-consuming fire of natural disasters that it feels like we are burning, that the blaze is raging and it is difficult to find our way out. But then, in the midst of the smoke and ash, a bright light shines. First responders rescue people from their flooded homes, nurses and doctors doing everything in their power to save lives, thousands of people donating money and household items to help people start again. It is this light that lends strength to the weary journey of the soul and provides a glimpse that the effort is worth it. Every time we act with compassion, we follow in God's footsteps. In the Yom Kippur reading from Isaiah, the prophet charges us to re-examine the kind of fast that we are conducting today. Is this the fast I look for? A day of self-affliction, bowing your head like a reed and covering yourself with sackcloth and ashes? Is this what you call a fast, a day acceptable to God? Is not this the fast I look for? To unlock the shackles of justice, to undo the fetters of bondage, to let the oppressed go free and to break every cruel chain? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry and to bring the homeless poor into your house? Many of us are feeling the onset of fatigue, wanting to help but discouraged, but because we cannot see how our small contribution is helping those who have lost everything. It is in this moment that the prophet Isaiah is calling on us to double down, to push forward and continue our acts of compassion in any way that we can. Only combined with acts of compassion is our fast on this and every Yom Kippur acceptable before God. At the end of his lecture, Father Boyle introduced a powerful speech from the play Angels in America by Tony Kushner. This disease will be the end of many of us, but not nearly all. And the dead will be commemorated and will struggle on with the living. And we are not going away. We won't die secret deaths anymore. The world only spins forward. You are fabulous, each and every one. And I bless you. More life. The great work begins. When Tony Kushner wrote these words, he intended them as a nechemta, a compassionate ending to his work on the AIDS crisis of the 1980s. Father Boyle used these words to demonstrate the true power of the boundless compassion that fuels his work. Today, it is my hope that all of the words that I have shared today will inspire each of us to take the first steps in quenching the consuming fire that is raging all around us. May the great work of compassion begin with us. Tzohorayim Tovim.
Well, thank you, Stacy. Hope I can get myself back on the screen here in a moment. We'll see. Still working on this. So Rabbi Stacy, sorry for calling you Stacy. I'm so familiar with you being my good friend. But Rabbi Stacy, you just moved right back to LA?
I did.
And where are you working there these days?
I am working at Los Angeles Hebrew High School, which is a non-denominational supplementary program where we teach Judaics and Hebrew for college credit. High school credit, sorry. High school credit.
Oh, sorry. They are so lucky to have you over there. And we're so lucky to be able to have you give you your sermon. And so anyways, take care and thank you so much for providing us some wisdom of Torah. I loved this idea of compassion and also the intention with God's fury, and I really appreciate it. Okay, thank you again, Stacy. Rabbi Stacy, oh my goodness. Rabbi Stacy, thank you so much.
Thank you, Abram. Rabbi Abram.
Okay, we are now going to move on. I lost my prayer book at one point. Now, let me go find that real quick.
We will be in the middle of page 485.
485. Thank you, Ross. We're going to begin our Yitzker service on page 485. Sorry. Okay. All things pass away, but you are eternal. Teach us, O God, to see that when we link ourselves to you and strive to do your will, our lives acquire eternal meaning and value. And sustain us in the hope, for we dare not ask for more than the human spirit created in your image is like you, eternal. The dust returns to the earth as it was, but the spirit returns to the God who gave it. Let me go off script a little bit.
Okay.
Before we continue on, I'm going to read you something that Elie Wiesel wrote. And it's called The Prayer of a Survivor. I no longer want you to grant me happiness or immortality, O God. All I want from you is to listen and to make me aware that you are listening to me. I no longer ask you to answer my questions, but to receive them and to become part of them. I no longer plead for peace for myself and wisdom. All I ask is to remain open to gratitude, surprise, and friendship. Love, you are not the one to give it to me. My enemies, I no longer want you to punish them, not even to enlighten them. All I ask is not to lend them your mask and your powers. I must give them one or the other. I give them your powers, not your face. My requests, O God, are not exaggerated. They are humble indeed. I ask from you what I would ask from a stranger I might have met at twilight on hostile territory. I ask you, God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, enable me to repeat these very words without betraying the child who handed them down to me. God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, enable me to forgive you and make him forgive me. I no longer plead for this child's life, not even for his faith. I only beg you to listen to him and to allow me to listen together with you. That's The Prayer of a Survivor by Elie Wiesel. We now continue on to page 486. Right?
49. I'm not doing that one else.
486, I have it for you.
You doing this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have set the eternal always before me. God is at my side. I shall not be moved. Therefore does my heart exult and my soul rejoice. My being is secure, for you will not abandon me to death, nor let your faithful one see destruction. You show me the path of life. Your presence brings fullness of joy. Enduring happiness is your gift. I'm going to continue on page 4, on top of 487. Let us call to mind the great and good, through whom the Adonai has done wonders. There were leaders of people helping many with understanding and insight. Wise and eloquent in their teachings, they are just and loving in their deeds. All these were honored in their generations. They were the glory of their times. There are some who left a name behind them, whose remembrance is as honey in the mouth. People will declare their wisdom, and all will tell of their goodness. And there are some who are left no memorial, whose names have vanished as they have never been. But the goodness of their lives has not been lost to the work that cannot be blotted out. Before I continue on, I have another piece I would like to read. This is called Can You Take It? And it's written by an anonymous World War II soldier. It's easy to be nice, boys, where everything's okay. It's easy to be cheerful when you're having things your way. But can you hold your head up and take it on the chin when your heart is breaking and you feel like giving in? It was easy back in England among the friends and folks, but now you miss the friendly hand, the joys, the songs, and jokes. The road ahead is stormy, and unless you're strong in mind, you'll find it's long before you're dragging far behind. You've got to climb the hill, boys. It's no use turning back. There's only one way home, boys, and it's off the beaten track. Remember you're American, and when you're to reach the crest, you'll see the valley cool and green, our country at its best. You know there is a saying that sunshine follows rain, and sure you'll realize that joy will follow pain. Let courage be your password, make fortitude your guide, and then instead of grousing, just remember those who died. We now continue on top of page 489. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the right path for the sake of his name. And even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. For you are with me. With rod and staff you comfort me. You've set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You've anointed my head with the oil, and my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai forever. We now continue, we continue with the reading of the names for Yitzchak. To do that, we have a couple of community members who volunteered to help us with this, and I believe we're going to ask Glenn and Pam Kravitz to come on first to help us with reading the names, and I really appreciate them volunteering to read our community names for our Yitzchak list. It might take a few moments for us to get them on. Glenn, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I want to thank you, Glenn, for this honor of reading the members of our communities that passed away, and I just wanted to say thank you.
It's my honor, and Pam will be following up, and then Beth and John as well. So I wanted to start out by just letting folks know that the congregation has worked very hard to provide us with an accurate list of names to read. But please accept our deep apology for anyone whose name we do not read, and also an apology if we mispronounce any of your loved ones' names. Beth Carol Alexander, Estelle Alexander, Maurice Alexander, Edith Altschuler, Stanley Altschuler, Howard Anderson, Dolores Arceo, Dr. Erwin Arnovitz, Jane Arnovitz, Max Arnovitz, Michael Arnovitz, Mary Jane Arnovitz, Shirley Arnovitz, Saul Arnovitz, Scott Athe, Marvin Athe, Vesta Athe, Werner Offrecht, Julia Barney, Arthur Bashuk, Everett Ollendorf Bauman, John Eric Bauman, Myrtle Bearden, Nisim Benjamin, Abraham Berkowitz, Goldie Berkowitz, Bernard Bernstein, Lawrence I. Birch, Alan Block, Arthur A. Bloomfield, Nellie L. Bloomfield, Gussie Brown, Henrietta H. Brown, Irving A. Brown, Matilda Tibby Brown, Elsa Bruck, Joseph Bruno, Pearl Bruno, Rose Bauman Brust, Stanley Brust, Israelia Kalanoff, Reuben Kalanoff, Francis Kaminer, Ann Kaminer, Jack Kaminer, Ellen Cantor, Beverly Brown Caron, Max Caron, Dora Caron, Lillian Karen, Morris Karen, Bernard Cashman, Harvey Siegler, Christine Chandler, Celia Chernigow, Mariana Clift, Bonnie Cohen, Charles Cohen, Phil Cohen, Reuben Cohen, Joseph Cohn, Anna Cohn, Noah Connors, Nina Converse, Ivan Corpor, Clinton Joseph Cox, my mom, Millie Kravis, my dad, Jose Kravis, Donald W. Cummings, Dale Donahue, James Dorr, John Gurney Dorr, Elaine Teicher Dorr, Beverly Druxman, Larry A. Druxman, Rita Durr, Barry Dushman, Meyer Dushman, Rhea Dushman, Krista Ellis, Mildred Garish Ellis, Morris Ellis, Mark Erdeshek, Ezer Falkowitz, Hattie Falkowitz, Nicholas Fahuza, Rose Fahuza, Marilyn Fidello, Leah Finger, Robert Finger, Evelyn Fisher. Joseph Fisher, Bruce Forrest, Jerry Lynn Forrest, Bruce Forrest Jr. I left off with Bruce and Bessie is,
The next one?
yeah, the next one.
Okay.
Okay,
So how do I know when I'm in?
there, you're on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bessie K. Frankel, Marvin S. Frankel, Daniel T. Franklin, Gertrude Friedman, Max Friedman, Isidore Friedman, Renee Friedman, Henry Futor, Jean Geckler, Maurice Carl Geckler, Harry Gibbs, Martha Gibbs, Sandy Gibbs, Martha Ginden, Gershon Ginsberg, Thelma Dower Ginsberg, Fred Glazer, Rose Lewis Glazer, Daniel Ann Gleason, Bertha Goldberg, Bobby Goldberg, Burton Howard Goldberg, Joseph Goldberg, Samuel Goldman, Sylvia Goldman, Jerome W. Goodman, Edward Goodstein, Sylvia Goodstein, Barney Gottstein, Natalie Werner Gottstein, Seymour Gould, Ruth Gould, Harold Greenbaum, Catherine Greenberg, Florence Greenman, Isidore Irving Greenman, Charles Greenstein, Esther Greenstein, Max Greenstein, Joy Greisen, Betty Grinker, Saul Grinker, Max Grunberg, Esther Gutenberg, Isidore Joe Gutenberg, Marilyn Gutenberg, Beverly Hall, Wallace A. Hall, Howard Harris, Berna Hart, Joseph E. Hart, Jamie Haas, Alvin Haas, Robert Helling, Adele Tatkin Hertz, Ruth Higgins, Rabbi Joseph Honig, Adeline Horwitz, Rose Horwitz, Robert Horwitz, Anna Hoytash, Charles Hoytash, Dorothy Hull Barnes, Max Jabin, Adrian C. Jackson, Arthur Jacob, Bella Jacobs, Jacob A. Jacobs, Louis Jacobs, Sarah Fuller Johnson, David Josephson, Jenny Josephson, Selma Kaplan, Seymour Kaplan, Shayna Rose Kaplan, Sydney Kaplan, Richard Kaufman, Harold Kaufman, Eileen Kaufman, Phil Keith, Daniel M. Kalman, Sylvia H. Kalman, George Kerman, Lillian Kerman, Louis Kerman, Louis Kerman, Mary Kerman, Max Kerman, Oscar Kerman, Sophia Kerman.
Hi, Pam. Does that conclude your portion of the list?
That concludes my portion of the list, and John
Thank
and
you
Beth are doing
so
the
much,
rest of it.
Pam.
You're welcome.
We're now going to invite John Levy and Beth Rose to conclude our Yitzhak list.
John
Thank
and
you
Beth
so
are doing the rest of it.
Pam.
You're welcome.
We're now going to invite John Levy and Beth Rose to conclude our Yitzhak list.
We continue with Harriet Keel, Joe Kirkner, Sam Kersner, Elaine M. Klein, Abraham Irving Klavansky, Dora Pearlstein Klavansky.
John and Bill are doing the rest of it. You're welcome.
We're now going to invite John, Levy, and Beth Rose to conclude our youth career list.
Am I on? We continue with Harriet Keel, Joe Kirkner, Sam Kersner, Elaine M. Klein, Abraham Irving Klavansky, Dora Pearlstein Klavansky.
John and Bill are doing the rest of it. You're welcome.
We're now going to invite John, Levy, and Beth Rose to conclude our youth career list.
Am I on? We continue with Harriet Keel, Joe Kirkner, Sam Kersner, Elaine M. Klein, Abraham Irving.
Sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm not sure what's going on. Could there be a volume issue? Can you guys hear me okay? John or Beth, can you hear me?
We can. There's
Okay.
there's a loop. It keeps repeating.
There seems to be a loop going on. Yeah, we're trying to figure it out. And meanwhile, if you have anything that has a volume, can you turn it down a bit? On your end, we're turning it down on our end as well. Okay, I'm getting a thumbs up. I think we're okay. I think we're okay. Let's try this again. Thanks for your patience.
And we continue. Bernard Clevens, Edith Clevens, Sydney S. Clevens. There's a loop. It keeps repeating.
There seems to be a loop going on. Yeah, we're trying to figure it out. Meanwhile, if you have anything that has a volume, can you turn it down a bit? On your end, we're turning it down on our end as well. Okay, I'm getting a thumbs up. I think we're okay. I think we're okay. Let's try this again. Thanks for your patience.
Rabbi Peter, we continue. Bernard Clevens, Edith Clevens, Sydney S. Clevens. There's a loop.
Meanwhile, if you have anything that has volume, turn it down a bit. You're ready to turn it down on our end as well. Okay, I'm getting a thumbs up. I think we're okay. I think we're okay. Let's try this again. Thanks for your patience.
Rabbi Peter Noble. Continue. Bernard Clevens, Edith Clevens, Sydney S. Clevens.
Okay, John, we're not sure what's going on. Do you have the live feed in your room somewhere?
Absolutely.
Rabbi Peter.
I think what's happening is there's a 15-second delay
Okay.
between the live feed and the Zoom that we're on right now.
Our apologies. I will continue. Rabbi Peter Noble, Samuel Koenig, Anelia Koskowski, Ernest Koskowski, Julia Koskowski, Ernest Kunruther, Mildred Landman, Adeline Landsman, Irving Lasky, Rhodus Lasky, Joseph Lazur, Sophia Lazur, Bernard Lee, Betty Lee, Sarah Lehman, Norman Lehrman, Sarah Kerman Lehrman, Shirley Liebert, Elaine Wolf Liebert, Fanny Liebert, George Liebert, Harry J. Levin, Jeanette Levin, Francis Levine, Hyman Levine, Bernard Levinson, Lila Leviton, Abe Levy, Bradford Levy, Edward Levy, Gertrude Trudy Levy, Laura C. Levy, Regina C. Levy, Rivka Bat Shmuel, Bessie Lewis, Hyman Leon Lewis, Mary B. Lewis, Moses Lewis, James Lindsay, Dr. Harry Block, Yurichum Ben Yosef, Lillian Block, Luba Bas Nachman, Ann G. Ludlam, Jane Lyon, Eugene Mannheimer, Nathan Markowitz, Selma Markowitz. Mhm. Judith Marks, Jerome Marks, Frank Martin, Jean Gail Xander Martin, Antonio Macero, Celia Feinberg Macero, Florence Matthias, Walter David Mayer, Golda Meir, John Thomas Mendel, Joan Miller, Kim Miller, Mary Miller, Max Miller, Fred Mintz, Shirley Mintz, George T. Moore, Janet Moore, Nellie S. Moore, Carol Mooney, Bernie Moscow, Julius M. Myers, Adele Nachman, Herbert Nachman, John Nagel, Ernest Nathan, Irving Nathanson, Irving Nog, Jenny Nog, Marion Nog, David Lee Olson, Francis Betty Pescar, Harry Pescar, Courtney Chapin Platt, Helen Platt, Maurice Daniel Plotnick, Jacob Plotsky, Jan Porterfield, Louis Posner, Ethel Rawitz, Sidney Rawitz, Max Rader, Thelma Rader, Henrietta Reichlin, Professor Erwin Reifler, Arlene Richter, Muriel Richter, Stan Robbins.
Elizabeth Robinson, Floyd Robinson, Anelia Rohde, Beatrice Koenig Rose, Bernie Rose, Berta Rose, David Rose, Edward Rose, Leo Maurice Rose, Nathaniel Ari Rose, Victor Rose, Nisel A. Mike Rose, Mel Rosenberg, Sarah Rosenblatt, Max Rothman, Carol Rubin, Ida Rubin, Ethel Turok Rudolph, Israel Nathan Rudolph, David Rumack, Josie Rumack, Marcella Rumack, Michael Rumack, Philip Ruskin, Beatrice Sanzone, Mel Sather, Edward Saunders, Alma Jean Saunders, Hilda Schatz, Richard Schatz, Stanley Schatz, Vivian Schiff, Mildred Bashuk Schwartz, Brent Schamberg, Jane Louise Schamberg, Mary E. Schamberg, Yale Schamberg, Mitch Shapira, Edward Schuster, Gisela Silton, Glenn Silton, Harold Silverbook, Marion Silverbook, David Malcolm Silverman, Dorothy Silverman, Glennis Silverman, Salomon Simon, Emil Singer, Charlotte Slutsky, Louis Slutsky, Arthur J. Smock, Harry Sokolov, Eric L. Solberg, Faye T. Solberg, Estelle Spatz, John Jack R. Spatz, Emma Spees, Robert F. Spees Jr., Edward Allen Spencer, Ernest Spink, Ray Spiro, Franklin Starr, Alfred Steinzig, Amelia Stonecker, Milton Sufyan, Robert J. Tate, Celia Teicher, Sam Teicher, Carolyn Elsie Timer Bauman, Shirley Tofelon, Miss Marie Toscano, Leo Tolchin, Naomi Tolchin, Michael Dawson Victor, Alice Wasserman, Harry Wasserman, Edith Weinberg, Morty Weinberg, Benjamin Weisner, Donna Weiser, Faye Weiser, Robert Weiser, William Weiser, Eva Welty, Hugh Welcher, Jean Welcher, Josephine Welzenberg, Samuel Wenzelberg, Elsie Werner, Rabbi Aaron Werner, Al White, Alberta L. White, John Willis, Aram Elijah Wolf, Benjamin Wolf, Grace Daniels Wolf, Sarah Blumert Wolf, Walter Wolf, Isabel Steindl Wolinski, Max Wolinski, Caroline Wolf, Francesca Fabusa Wolf, Henrietta Catherine Wolf, Joseph H. Wolf III, Elliot Yarman, Joseph Zallinger, Verna Zander, Harriet Walczek Zanman, Milton Zanman, Dorothy Zeman, Marshall Zeman.
Beth, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much for reading our names of our community members. I really appreciate you and John doing this. And we're going to now move on to our El Melech Rachamim in our prayer books on page 492.
Yeah.
We good? Before I continue on to the Mourner's Kaddish, which you can find on the bottom of page 492, if you are listening in and there's a person who you are thinking about or you are mourning for that wasn't mentioned in our Year's Care list, please feel free to type their names in the YouTube chat prompt or think about them in your hearts. Zikronam Libracha, may their memory be a blessing. Yit Gedal v'Yit Gadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'elma Divrach Yote v'Yamlik Malchute, B'chayechon u'Yamechon u'B'chayei Kol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala u'Bizman Kari v'Imru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevarak le'olam u'Lomei Almayim, Yitbarak v'Yishtabak v'Yitpa'ar v'Yipramam v'Yitnaseh, V'Yitadar v'Yitalei v'Yitalal Shemei Kudusha Barichu, Le'elam Mikol Birchata V'Shirata, Tushbechata V'Nechamata, Da'amiran Be'elma V'Imru, Amen. Yehei Shlama Rab Amin Shemaya, L'chaim Alein V'Yakol Yisrael, V'Imru, Amen. Osei Shalom B'Imromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Alein V'Yakol Yisrael, V'Imru, Amen. May the one who causes peace to reign in the heavens high, let peace descend on us and all Israel and in the world, and let us say Amen.
Amen.
Oh, and now we're going to move on to the Misha Berach, which is not in your prayer books, unfortunately. And in a moment, I'm going to invite Genevieve up here to sing it for us. But before she does that, I'm going to read the list of names of people in our community who are in need of healing. Tina Mink, Chris Converse, Jennifer Eskridge, Ian Clift, David Tobias, Katie Flagel, Lindsay Raber, Micah Purdy, Cheryl Lambriani, Laura Allen, Susan Super, Mary Jo Robinson, Melba Cook, Emmy Webb, Stephen Lamp, Russell Crass, Bill Ross, Alan Friedman, Russ Nog, Norma Haas, Ray Ellis, Judy Cantor, and Diane Kaplan. If there's anyone who you are thinking of who is in need of healing, please feel free to type their names in YouTube's chat prompt or think about them in your hearts. Thank you, Genevieve. And to honor those who remember who are passing, this is the time where I like to offer announcements to show that Judaism still continues and will continue for hopefully much longer. And so here's the announcement so far. Religious school is going to start October 10th. But we need more volunteer teachers. So if you would like to volunteer teach, please contact me at rabbi@frozenchosen.org. But anyways, we plan to start over on Zoom on October 10th, Religious School. We're restarting season 2 of Torah Uncensored. This is Religious School for adults, no kids allowed. And that's going to start October 9th. It's a new time or a new day is Saturday. We'll have more information about that coming soon to you. But yes, we already have some great plans for season 2 of Torah Uncensored. And then we're going to have for next year, we're going to start a high holiday chorus, which Ross has graciously agreed to help out with. Voluntold to help out with, and so we're gonna start recruiting for that soon. So keep an eye out for it. We're gonna start kind of early so we can get a lot of time in And we're also excited to announce that our B'nai Mitzvah cohort, they're going to have their B'nai Mitzvah soon. It's the last weekend of October, first week in November, they're going to have their B'nai Mitzvah, which means we'll be recruiting for a new B'nai Mitzvah cohort, probably sometime in January. So look out for more information about that coming to you soon. I co-host a podcast called What Divines Us. We have a new episode out. It's a sort of like a Religion 101 podcast that I co-host with Pastor Matt Schultz. You get to hear us just having fun talking about religion. You can get that wherever you get your podcast, What Divines Us. And then weekly programs that we have. Every Friday night we have in-person services for those who are masked and vaccinated. And that starts at 6. We've got Wednesday morning minion that starts at 8 a.m. And then we have a Saturday text study, it's 10:30. And then for our monthly programs, we have Exploring Liturgy, which is every first Saturday of the month at 9 a.m. And then we have Judaism 101, which is every third Saturday of the month at 9 a.m. Ooh, so Exploring Liturgy is 9:30, right? 9:30 Exploring Liturgy, Judaism 101, 9 every third Saturday. And then we also volunteer to help the Mobile Food Bank at the Fairview Rec Center every third Saturday at 12:30. And then the other big announcement is that we need helpers to build our sukkah. It's a pretty big one. And so sukkah is going to be being built at 3 p.m. this Sunday, the 19th, here at CBS. So if you want to help to show up at CBS at 3 p.m. on this Sunday to help build a sukkah. I think those are all the announcements, right? Did I get them all? Nice. Okay, we're now moving on to our concluding service, the Nila service, which begins on a page. I'm not sure which one. 498?
Yeah, we're starting in 498.
498. It begins on the page 498 for our Nila service. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country that it may always be a stronghold of peace and its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within its borders, health and happiness within its homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship among the inhabitants of all lands. And may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Teach us, O God, to labor for righteousness, and seal us in the book of life, blessing, and peace. Blessed is the eternal God, the source of peace. And we continue now onto top of page 501.
וחיי לכל בית ישראל, ועגלה בזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבו מברך, לעולם לעולמי עולמיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, יתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי לקודשא בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, להמירן לעולמה, אמרו amen.
And we now continue on the bottom of 501 for the Amidah. What is this, like our third Amidah of the day?
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
Shalom. Kakatu Vayad Viecha, Karaset El Zeviar. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Melech haaretz kevodo. Admir Animreinu, Adonai Adonai, Ma'adir Shimcha b'chol haaretz. Baruch kavod Adonai mikomo. Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu, hu Malkeinu, hu Moshiach, v'hu Yashmienu b'rachamah, le'nei kol chai. Ani Adonai Elohechem, v'yimloch Adonai le'olam Elohai Tzion, le'dor v'ador, hallelujah. Kadosh ata v'norah shemecha, ve'ein Elohai mibadecha. Hakatuv vayikra Adonai tzvaot b'mishpat, ha'el hakadosh mikdash b'tzedaka. Baruch atah Adonai hamelech hakadosh.
Our God and God of all generations, pardon our sins on this day of atonement. Sweep away our transgressions and misdeeds, that they vanish from your sight. Blessed is Adonai, the sovereign whose forgiving love annuls our trespasses year after year. Sovereign of all the world, you hallow the house of Israel in the day of atonement.
Say Adonai Eloheinu b'yamcha Yisrael, v'filatam be'avat yikabel b'ratzon, v'til ratzon tamid al Yisrael amecha, ha'karov l'chol kol ha'pe'ad, lecha b'chareinu. Motiv anachnu lach, shatach l'Eloheinu Avotenu, Tov ki lo chol rechamecha v'ramecheinu ki lo tamu chasadecha me'olam kinu lach, v'yirchata Adonai hatov shimcha v'lechaneh l'hodot. Sim shalom. We continue in the middle of page 506.
Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova ubracha. Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova ubracha. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la.
V'chesed v'rachamim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael amecha. Barchenu avinu kulanu kechad yorpanecha. Yivevor panecha natata lanu Adonai Eloheinu Torat chaim ve'ahavat chesed u'tzedaka v'racha v'rachamim v'chaim v'shalom. V'tov beinecha v'varech et amcha Yisrael v'chol hein v'chol shah b'yisromecha. B'sefer chaim v'racha v'shalom. לחיים טובים ולשלום, ולשלום. ברוך אתה אדוני, עושה השלום.
We will continue in the middle of page 507.
Is that me?
That's
continuing?
you.
That's me. Got it. Compassionate God, let the promise be fulfilled. I will bring peace to the land, and you shall be serene and unafraid. I will rid the land of vicious beasts, and the sword of war shall be set aside. They shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, nor ever again shall the train for war. Justice shall roll down like waters, and righteousness like a mighty stream. We're going to continue on top of page 509. God of awesome deeds, grant us pardon at the gates begin to close. And God, we stand in awe before your deeds. We who are few in number look up to you. With trembling we praise you as the gates begin to close.
God, we stand in awe before your deeds.
To you we pour out our souls, blot out our sins, our dishonest ways. Grant us pardon as the gates begin to close. God, we stand in awe before your deeds. Be our refuge and shield us from danger. Assure us joy and honor as the gates begin to close. God, we stand in awe before your deeds. Be gracious to us, compassionate. Let your judgment fall on tyrants and those who make war as the gates begin to close. God, we stand in awe before your deeds. Remember the merits of our mothers and fathers. Renew us in their spirit and faith as the gates begin to close. God, we stand in awe before your deeds. Proclaim a year of favor. Return the remnant of your flock to honor and glory as the gates begin to close. God of awesome deeds, O God of awesome deeds, grant us pardon as the gates begin to close.
Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed.
Before the earth and sky were formed, Adonai was sovereign. When heaven's lights had yet to shine, Adonai did reign. Though like a garment earth decay, and the heavens all as smoke dissolve, Adonai will reign forever.
Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed.
Before the earth's expanse was spread, Adonai was sovereign, and when its creatures were all formed, Adonai did reign. Though earth from out of its orbits reel and tremble to its lowest depth, the Adonai will reign forever.
Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed.
We now turn to the top of page 511 for Avinu Malkeinu. Yeah. Avinu Malkeinu, B'tach sha'arei she'amayim, lit filatenu.
Our Father, our King, let the gates of heaven be open to our plea.
Avinu Malkeinu na'al tisha ve'enu rikam mil panecha.
Our Father, our King, do not turn us away empty-handed from your presence.
Avinu Malkeinu salat u'machal l'chol a'unotenu.
Our Father, our King, forgive our pardons and pardon all our misdeeds.
Avinu Malkeinu zechor ki afar anachnu.
Our Father, our King, remember that we are dust.
Avinu Malkeinu chamol aleinu ve'al olaleinu v'tapenu.
Our Father, our King, have compassion on us and on our children.
Avinu Malkeinu chadesh aleinu shana tova.
Our Father, our King, let the new year be a good year for us.
Avinu Malkeinu chatmenu v'sefer chaim tovim.
Our Father, our King, seal us for blessing in the book of life.
Avinu Malkeinu hareim karei Yisrael amecha.
Our Father, our King, give strength to your people Israel.
Avini Malkeinu Kalei Kalsar Umastin Ma'aleinu.
Our Father, our King, make an end to all oppression.
Avini Malkeinu Patzmach Lanu Yeshua B'Karov.
Our Father, our King, hasten the time of our redemption. Avinu Malkeinu Kalenu Aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu Kalenu Aleinu. Yehevanu Asim. Asei Manu. Tzedaka V'chesed. Asei Manu. Tzedaka V'chesed. Le'oshineinu. Avinu Malkeinu. Kalenu Aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu. Kalenu Aleinu. Yehevanu Asim. Asei Manu. Tzedaka V'chesed. Asei Manu. Tzedaka V'chesed. Le'oshineinu.
Avini Malkeinu, be gracious and answer us, even when we have little merit. Treat us generously and with kindness, and be our help. We now continue with the Dewey, which you can find in the middle of page 512. Our God and God of mothers and fathers, grant that our prayers may reach you. Do not be deaf to our pleas, for we are not so arrogant and stiff-necked as to say before you, Adonai our God, God of all ages, we are perfect and have not sinned. Rather do we confess. We have gone astray, we have sinned, we have transgressed.
Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, Dibarnu Dofi, He Evinu, Vehirshanu, Zadnu, Hamasnu, Tifanu Sheker, Yatsnu Ra, Gizavnu, Latnu, Maradnu, Nihatsnu, Sararnu, Avinu, Pashanu, Sararnu, Kishinu Oref, Rashnu, Shanu, Shichatnu, Tiavnu, Ta'inu, Titainu.
We have all committed offenses. Together we confess these human sins. The sin of arrogance, bigotry, and cynicism, of deceit and egotism, flattery and greed, injustice and jealousy. Some of us have kept grudges, were lustful, malicious, or narrow-minded. Others were obstinate or possessive, quarrelsome, rancorous, or selfish. There was violence, weakness of will, xenophobia. We yielded to temptation and showed zeal for bad causes. As in your love, you've been patient with this people from time you led us out of Egypt to the present day. So in your great love, may you forgive your people now.
ויאמר אדוני סלחתי כדבריך.
And Adonai said, I have pardoned in response to your plea. You hold out your hand to those who have rebelled against you. Your right hand is stretched out to receive those who turn back to you. Adonai our God, you have taught us to confess all our faults before you, so that we may turn away from violence and oppression. In accordance with your gracious promise, accept our repentance, which we offer to you in all sincerity. And we now continue on page 516. In your great mercy, have compassion upon us, for you do not desire the world's destruction. It has been said, seek Adonai while there is yet time. Cry out while God is near. Let the wicked forsake their ways, those bent on evil their thoughts. Let them return to Adonai, who will show them mercy, to our God, who will graciously pardon. You are a God of forgiveness, gracious and merciful, endlessly patient, loving and true. You ask evildoers to return to you, and do not seek their death. For it has been said, declare to them, as I live, seek Adonai God. It is not the death of the wicked I seek, but they turn from their ways and live. Turn back from your evil ways, for why should you choose to die, O house of Israel? And now we continue on page 522. I think we're on the bottom of that page?
Bottom of the page.
Bottom of page 522, okay. She's gonna kind of, I guess, waddle her way up here.
That's what I'm doing these days.
Yeah.
Beautifully.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Leah. Okay.
More Chikia Lidola. You must have the baby blowing too.
Yeah, mazel on that. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna close this arc, and then we're gonna have Havdalah, and then we're done, right? That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're done.
Yeah. Okay.
New trails there.
All right. You want to lead us in Havdalah, Ron?
No,
All right. Actually, hey, Leah, would you want to do Havdalah with me over here, real quick? I know, right? I kind of suckered you into it. Yeah. We were missing kind of Asher for this one, but oh well. A lot of wicks.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei minei samim, borei minei samim. Lai lai la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai lai la 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 lai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei mi'orei ha'esh, borei mi'orei ha'esh. Lai lai la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai lai la la lai la la lai.
Okay, here we go. All right. No one tell Moshe I got some wax on the floor. It's your secret. At least it's the rabbi that did it, no one else. Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. I think we ended a little early, which
We did.
I wonder if we'll get complaints about that.
I doubt it.
What's going to happen, Ross, is we'll get complaints next year when we end more on time.
Oh,
and
no.
they're like, but you usually end at like 4:45. What's going on?
Says I can end late.
yes. All right. So it's online, so it's a one-time thing. But we ended a little early today. But anyways, I wish everyone hopefully a good break the fast. And hope you eat well. And thank you for joining us and being here for us. Ross, do you have anything else you want to say for closing?
No, just Yom Tov to everyone.
Yes, Yom
Absolutely.
Tov, and take care. And we'll see you on Shabbat tomorrow, which I'm sure you'll all show up to as well.
That's right. And a good Yom.
At 6.
Six.
At 6. You can come in person if you're vaccinated, or you can watch online the way you're watching these services. So we'll all see you there. More fun to be had tomorrow at 6. Okay, take care, everyone. Have a good night.